Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the Silverado today, and quick follow-up to our previous video where we had, you know, from bad times to worse, whatever we ended up calling the previous video about the Corvette. Well, I've made a couple phone calls, made a couple decisions, so I'm headed over to Huntersville, North Carolina to go pick up a new block. So yeah, I've pretty much decided to start over. Now, it's not going to be very cheap, but in the end, I think it's what we're going to want. So I'm going to go look at a 5.3 liter LC9. It is a 5.3 liter LS, and there's something special about it. I don't know if it's Siamese bore or whatever, but basically it allows you to punch it out to 427 cubic inches, and it also allows you to use the upgraded dart and sleeves. So I called a shop locally, actually in Denver, and I wasn't even aware that they do this machinery, but I have to thank Andrew Dunkel. He's got an SS. He's had an SS forever, but yeah, I put a post out there on Facebook, and I basically posted out there, you know, what's everyone's thoughts on a 5.3 liter 427 setup, and he kind of asked, well, who was I thinking about doing the machine work? I was looking at a company in California, and their prices are about the same ballpark as this local machine shop, and Andrew highly recommended. It's 3V. I'm not sure if that's 3 valve or just 3 victory or whatever, but 3V Performance in Denver. I spoke with the owner, Tom, and basically what he said was, as soon as he gets the sleeves in, he can be done with the block within like 3 or 4 days. So the short block is not going to be that cheap. Now, the engine we're looking at today is going to be pretty cheap, but the machine work, the sleeves, all that, that's going to cost a little bit of money. But in the end, I think this is exactly how I want to get this setup done. Is we will pick up the block, we will drop it off to get machined, and I think after that I'm going to wait a little bit to pick up the rods, the crank, and all that stuff, because you know, we're going with a dry sump, and so that's kind of a specialized crank. And yeah, so, and the other thing is, I still don't know what to do about an oil pump. I think I've alluded to that in past videos. The right now there's like a national back order on LS7, LS9 oil pumps. So yeah, they basically don't exist. And even if you send a used one to K-Tech, a lot of the engines these oil pumps come off of, if they haven't been wrecked, they've been blown up. So they've had material, you know, particles and all kinds of metal and crap go through those oil pumps, basically ruining them. So, but anyway, let's go check out this 5.3 liter. All right, guys, we got the 5.3. It turns over, and it's actually the entire short block. I thought I was just buying the block itself, but it's got rod pistons, oil pan. If you guys can see right there, that is our new base for our 427. So let's go grab some food, head home, and we'll get this thing unloaded. All right, guys, we have the 5.3 liter on the engine stand, and yes, there are still LT4 parts underneath it. That is a whole nother project and a whole nother update for a different video. But yeah, so we got the 5.3 home, grab the hoist over there, grab it out of the back of the truck, and here we are. So not any huge updates, but I did confirm that this is the LC9 that we're looking for. Basically, you're looking for a part number on the front. It ends in, I believe it's 048. I don't think you guys can read that, but did have to clean that off a little bit, and did confirm that it is the block that we're looking for. On the way home from picking it up, I think I did say it had an oil pan. Now, I knew it had the crank and rods and piston in it, but I didn't know it had the oil pan in it. I don't know if that oil pan is worth anything, but you know, if it'll help offset a couple things, we'll sell that. I'm also planning on removing the piston and rods. We're going to sell that. Now, unfortunately, those aren't like the LT4 rods that go for like $1,500. These go between like $200 and $300. So I will get those torn out, and we'll put that up on Facebook just to help offset some of the costs. Now, the seller did have the short block listed for $600, talked him down to $500, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And yeah, so here we are. So we've got a $500 5.3 liter. Maybe 10 years ago you could have got the whole motor for 500 bucks, but obviously with the way things are nowadays, you know, the art of the deal doesn't really exist anymore, unfortunately. So this will be a good base for everything that I've seen. When we were in the parking lot, I did confirm the engine does spin over. Everything moves without problem, and so this does rotate. So there is one thing we're gonna have to do when we do the dry sump conversion. We will have to plug off the oil dipstick. I think we can just hit that with a MPT tap that, go get a plug and plug that thing up. So looks like it's about 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, between 1/4 inch and 3/8. So we should be able to tackle that without any major issue, and that's really about it. My intention is to get this engine torn apart this weekend. Today is Friday. Well, it's Friday evening now. And so tomorrow we will tear into the rest of the block. So early next week, I plan on dropping this off. It'll either be Monday or Tuesday, just depending on my schedule. We'll drop this off at the machine shop. They'll get the dart and sleeves ordered, and then they can go ahead and get started on the machine work. As far as the machine work, I'm not really planning on having them doing anything crazy, just the sleeves, and I think that's pretty much about it. I might have them deburr the edge of the block, or heck, I could even do that myself, because once we get the engine back, I still need to take this to my regular machine shop and then have him do the molar rods. I think we're gonna look at a Cali's LS7 crank and some kind of piston, and we'll get this thing all squared away. So I thought we were done for the evening, but I forgot that the shirt that I ordered a little bit ago finally came in, and this is gonna be that artwork that I had made a while ago, and I actually made posters out of it. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, if you guys do want to help support the channel, especially this project coming up with this new motor, you can go ahead and go to our website and pick up one of our t-shirts, and here is a example of that. And speaking of that poster, when I posted it over on Teespring, it was available for like the first week or so. Then they just removed that product right off their website. So unfortunately, if you guys try to go to our website, click through it and go to Teespring and order that poster, fortunately it's not there. So I think I've removed it, but yeah, so it's like a temporary product that they had available, then they took it off. So that kind of sucks. Wish I had one of those made. I might get a banner, canvas banner made up. I need to rehang that. That's been back behind the toolbox for a while, but you can actually go to FedEx or UPS and they will print banners for you. So that might be something we do in the future. But yeah, so here's an example of some of our merch. But yeah, it's gonna be a pretty expensive project, and anything we can do to help offset that, that's what we're gonna do. So, all right guys, we are in the middle of tearing down the LC9 5.3 liter LS block. You guys can see we've got about half the pistons out. Got the oil pan off. I got the oil pickup, the oil pan gasket, the oil pan obviously removed. And so far, this engine has actually been in really good shape. I mean, the bearings on both the pistons as well as the crank all look good. There's a little bit of a ridge here in the middle on the one, but I mean, pretty much this looks like it was a perfectly fine running motor. Unfortunately, I don't know any of the history on it, but honestly, to us, it kind of really doesn't matter, because this whole thing is going to get torn apart, blown apart, and whatnot. So now this motor does not look like it's been gone through before. These look like stock pistons, and you know, the wear on them is actually not that bad. You know, there's a little bit of scoring on the side, but you know, that's to be expected with a a stock engine. And it does look like there was a coating on the outside of these pistons, so I'm not sure if that's factory for the 5.3. The only thing that makes me kind of question this might have been had an oil pan gasket put on it was the fact that it has a blue seal. You guys can kind of see over my trash bin over there that it's gray with a blue seal. I don't remember the stock gaskets having blue on it, so that's one sign, but everything else looks pretty good so far. So we'll go ahead, get the rest of the pistons removed, and then we'll go ahead and start on the main caps, get those removed, and go ahead and get the crank out. All right guys, we have finished tearing down the block. I've only been out of here for a few hours. Unfortunately, this is like my second or third LS LT motor that I've torn it down, so I'm kind of getting good at this, which is probably not a good thing, but anyway, here is the crank, and as you guys can see, I mean, it looks pretty clean. I can't feel any major ridges on any of the bearing surfaces, so Everything looks pretty good. The crank bearings look pretty decent. You know, I'm not feeling like any major scoring or anything like that, but yeah, so basically we just took the main caps off. Now guys, make sure you do keep track of your main caps because you will need that before you send that to the machine shop. So I'm going to take them, both of them back in right where they were. Now mine are stamped like they've been physically punched 1 through 5. My LT motor that I have at the machine shop was kind of that digital etching 1 through 5. So maybe this motor has been gone through in the past, but I mean, I don't know. There's no clear like sign like, oh hey, you know, this motor's been blown up before, because this block looks really clean. Yes, it's obviously dirty with oil, but I mean, I'm not seeing any major impacts. A piston hasn't exploded. It hasn't tossed a rod or anything like that. So in that aspect, that is a good thing, because you don't want an engine that's been blown up previously. But you know, everything in here looks just the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to put the end caps back in. We'll just lightly put the hardware back in. I'm not gonna torque it down or anything crazy like that. Just hand tight on that. Put that in. Take pictures of all the pistons and rods. Those seem to have a little bit of a value. And the crankshaft, that's just going to join my scrap pile. And I need to go to the scrap yard and get rid of some scrap metal. So with us scrapping the crank, the oil pan, and selling the rod and piston, we might be able to get, I don't know, 200, 250 bucks back. I only paid 500 for this block, and if we could pay for half of it just by parting things and scrapping things out, that'd be awesome. So, all right guys, I have finished stripping the block and putting it back together. There were a couple of knock sensors and the crank position sensor. Those have all been pulled off. I put the main caps back in. You guys can see everything. Put the hardware back in. I even put the side of the main cap bolts in. I don't know what the machine shop's gonna need. The first machine shop 3B, they're pretty much just gonna be doing the sleeve install, so I don't know what all they're gonna need for everything. And then my second machine shop, Ken, he'll do the final assembly, or the rods, pistons, and all that, and go probably with a Cali's crank, something like that. So last update you guys saw on the 5.3 was that we had pulled the pistons, we put them on the ground. You will notice they are no longer there. I just ended up boxing those up and selling them on eBay actually. So those are now gone, and I had them listed for 200 bucks on eBay. Someone offered me 150 bucks. I was like, perfect. So those are now out of my hair, and so our $500 block now basically cost us only $350. And then all that aluminum and metal stuff that we scrapped, I think I scrapped 116 pounds of aluminum and steel. That basically got us another 20 bucks. So now our $500 block basically cost us only $330. So, you know, not a bigger deal there, and we were able to get not quite half of our money back, but a very large chunk of it. So, you know, anytime you can make a little bit of money and offset your cost, that's not a bad thing. The other thing you will notice is the lift plate. This is actually for a LT motor. You guys will notice that I added a couple extra holes. So a hole here, hole here, hole here. This one I just missed. So we just added a couple holes, and now we will be ready to, when we pull the motor, I can go ahead and use this lift plate. I do have a LS specific lift plate, but it's actually at my body shop. I let him borrow it like 6 months ago. I haven't heard back from him, and I haven't been over there in a while. So I will get that back eventually, but I just went ahead and modified that one. So yeah, so that basically allows us to go ahead and pull the motor that is in the car. So long story short, we're basically going to be using the 6-liter for parts, because that's about all that we can do. I've got some parts inside of there that I can reuse. I think I can reuse maybe the crank scraper. That'll be about it. The difference between the wet sump and dry sump is basically everything below the oil pan. So the pickup tube, the windage tray, the crank scraper, and the baffling in the oil pan, that is all different. I already have the LS7 dry sump oil pan and the baffle for that, but I actually don't have what's underneath the oil pan, so the windage tray and the crank scraper. I don't have one. I did look up Improved Racing's website, and the only thing that they sell is basically for a stock engine, so it's kind of weird that they don't sell anything for a bigger engine. I will be running a Molnar crank and Molnar rods, and yeah, so that's it's not, I don't think it'll fit. So I'm going to give them a call and see if there is anything that they offer, because I really don't know how you run a aftermarket crank with a stock windage tray and all that stuff. So we'll just have to do a little bit more research on that. Oh, and speaking of this 5.3, so I'm actually changing shops of where I'm going to take this. Talked to a couple guys, and 3V seems like they could do it, but I haven't seen anything positive. I haven't seen anything negative. And my machine guy, Ken, actually wants to do a sleeved 5.3. So he's like, hey, you know, let's go ahead and do this on your block. And I'm like, okay. So I've been talking with him, and we're getting a plan together. And Ken's basically going to be doing everything from the block, the pistons, the heads, the crank, push rods, everything that we've done kind of here. I'm going to leave it in his hands, because this 427, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't want to risk anything. And not that we've done anything wrong in the past, but you guys know that we struggled with push rods in this motor. So, you know, we had the wrong length push rod, we had the wrong length half-inch stud, you know, just a bunch of stuff that I don't want to deal with. And speaking with Ken, you know, so we're basically going to have him do everything. I think I'm actually going to have him do the dyno and break-in on the engine as well. So we've got to get a lot of parts over to Ken, as well as the block. So when we drop some of this stuff off, we will give you guys an update then. But yeah, so plan is to have a wet sup 427, Molnar rods and crank. Pistons, I'm probably going to be DSS again. I'm not quite 100% sure on that. All right, guys, we've got the 5.3 in the back of the truck, and that is pretty much going to be it for this video. We're going to drop this off at the machine shop tomorrow. And actually, the LS block with this little wood crate will fit underneath that tonneau cover that we put in a couple weeks ago. So we can leave this in the back of the truck overnight, have it completely sealed, and it should be all right. So hey, bonus that the tonneau cover clears the engine. But so yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I have no idea how long this is gonna take. It is July now, and my engine guy is a couple months out, and we obviously have to do the wiring project on the Corvette behind us. So we've got a lot of stuff to do, and it's gonna take a while. So I'm thinking the earliest I'll see this will be 2 or 3 months from now. It might even be longer. So I'm saving up money now for machine shop, getting more parts, but he should be able to start soaking the engine, getting it cleaned up, then start the machining process for the new sleeves, and then obviously we'll do the 427 with the Molnar rods and crank that we talked about earlier. So that's gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you want to follow along with the updates on the Corvette, the motor, the 427, all this stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. I'll try to include part numbers for some of the parts and tools that we use. Yeah, I should be able to find you something for that. Find all that down below. And also make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any support you guys give there goes right back into the channel. This 427 build, the Corvette rewire, and all that stuff. That's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.